This doesn't change any of that. But what it does change is the perspective, the energy, and some of the assumptions that were made about the Suns during that Minnesota series.
How the Timberwolves are just absolutely wrecking the Nuggets right now. Does that make you feel a little bit better about the way the Timberwolves wrecked the Suns in the first round?
I think it does, in that it provides a little bit of context in terms of, like, no, the Suns are not where they need to be because they lost the playoff series. If they were where they needed to be, they would be in the next round and the round before that and the round after that. Like, they're not where they need to be. It's clear that some changes need to be made. They need to tweak. They need to improve significant aspects of their roster and what held them back. But at the same time, like, if the Timberwolves are going out and doing this to the defending champs and doing it worse to the defending champs than they did it to the Suns, like, let's not forget the Suns, yeah, they got whopped in 3 of the 4 games, but they were competitive until the third quarter. Last night's game 2 was a blowout from the second quarter on.
Reminded me of our game against the Clippers.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I know how this feels.
Yeah, we've seen playoff games like that. As much as the Timberwolves blew those games open, they were not routes from start to finish like last night. No. And that's a very small consolation prize. I understand that. I'm not trying to say, feel better now. We got swept, but we didn't get our ass kicked as bad. No, you still got your ass kicked. But at the end of the day, like, everybody wanted to make this about what's wrong with the Suns. And I think the Timberwolves are just playing at such a high level that the focus should be more on them and what they're doing well and how they just put together one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen in a playoff game, considering who they were going against, considering they held that team to 80 points, considering that they beat them twice on the road to start the series and are halfway towards a sweep. Like, we got to give the Timberwolves more credit than I think we have. And I do think if you're the Suns, you look at this, like, if the Timberwolves lost in 4, 5, 6 games to the Nuggets in the second round, you feel a lot worse about that sweep than you do if the Timberwolves do the same damn thing to the defending champs.
That's the logic behind it, my brother. Mm-hmm. This would have me up last night. Everyone thought that my tweet that I sent out last night about this very topic was in some way, shape, or form me trying to sugarcoat what the Suns are going through. And it's not. Like, you couldn't have said it better. The Suns have problems. They have things they need to fix. And if they didn't have those problems, they would have got to the second round. This doesn't change any of that. But what it does change is the perspective, the energy, and some of the assumptions that were made about the Suns during that Minnesota series that now you're seeing them do at a higher level to what no arguments, people would say Denver's a better team than the Suns, correct? There's probably no argument that Denver was the favorite to come out the West before this playoff started.
Right.
Correct? They're defending champions. They got damn near 3-time MVP on the court. You got one of the best guards in the playoffs in decades in Jamal Murray. He's a playoff riser. That's what my boy Eric likes to say. Right? So I was watching that game yesterday, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, yo, this is more about Minnesota and less about the Suns. And that's all I was trying to say. I think there's context behind it. We do it all the time in college football. When we have the college football playoffs, we say, well, you know, this team played Alabama and lost, but this team played this team. And so we can do it in other sports, but for some reason it's like taboo if you do it with basketball, but particularly with the Phoenix Suns. So, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing I saw criticism about Devin Booker in the first round that, again, I don't think anybody ducks from. What are we saying about Jamal Murray? I saw criticism about Kevin Durant. What are we saying about the Joker right now? I've seen criticism about Frank Vogel. What are we doing with Mike Malone right now? Are all those guys terrible? Should they fire Mike Malone? Is Joker not an MVP? Is Jamal Murray a fluke? No, the answer is no. Those guys are fantastic. Minnesota's fucking good. And we underestimated it, and that's my only point. Let's have the same energy with this Denver series that we had with the Suns. And maybe there's a little bit of logic behind the Suns have some things to fix, but maybe it's not as much as we thought. Is that fair? Can you live with that?
It's fair. And I think people could argue fairly that, like, the difference between looking at the Nuggets that way and the Suns that way is, like, obviously the Nuggets have won a title and the Suns have not. But I think that, if anything, is instructive because it's saying, okay, if this title-winning team could come out and look the exact same as we did against them,
or worse,
it's not about us or the Nuggets necessarily. It might be more about what this common denominator is bringing to the table.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is it doesn't mean the Suns don't have issues that need to be addressed this offseason. It doesn't mean that they can't get better and don't need to get better. It's just that instead of the narrative being that the Suns shit the bed, it's that the Timberwolves stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like, I guarantee you Denver probably was looking at this series between the Suns and the Suns and the Timberwolves being like, yeah, we'd probably want the Timberwolves out of that. In the same way we said the Timberwolves are probably our most favorable matchup, and the Timberwolves said, and I took that personally.
Right.